Harry Sidney Bennett.
The silence
David
and
John
the defiance. Demanding justice as football remembers its darkest hour. "20 years after the Hillsborough disaster claimed the lives of 96 Liverpool fans, I'm at Anfield on a day of raw emotion. Tonight we talk to those who lost loved ones and to the players who witnessed the tragedy.
I drove up to Sheffield that day. I was a mum and a wife. Now I'm neither.
You could see people being squashed against the fence. Some of them saying, "Bruce, trying to help us."
Also on News at 10. Developments tonight in the strike that's left thousands of cross-channel travellers stranded. And daring to dream how a reality TV hopeful has already become a worldwide star.
Good evening from Anfield, a stadium that was filled with silence and with song today as 25,000 people remembered the events of 2 decades ago. Tonight, flowers and scarves once again grace this pitch, laid by some of those who came to pay tribute to the 96 fans crushed to death at Hillsborough. But amid the sadness, there was anger too, the crowd in these famous stands demanding justice for those who lost their lives. On tonight's special edition of News at 10, we'll hear from those who lost sons and daughters at Hillsborough and from former players who still want the truth. But first, Paul Davis reports on the message to the 96 and their families: you'll never walk alone.
Carl Brown. David Stephen Brown.
They filled the famous Kop to hear a roll call of those who died that April day.
Barry Glover.
The crowd, larger than anyone had anticipated, spread around all 4 sides of Liverpool's Anfield ground.
Derek George Godwin.
96 names, the men, women and children who went to an FA Cup semi-final and didn't come back. Each one of them remembered.
Eric Hankin.
Their families were there on this special anniversary. So were many of those who survived, along with the players and staff of Liverpool Football Club that day, led by manager Kenny Dalglish. The current generation of Liverpool heroes also took their place on the Kop. At 6 minutes past 3, the time the semi-final was abandoned, they observed 2 minutes silence. The silence ended with prolonged applause, but as well as remembrance, there was a reminder of the anger many Liverpool fans still feel. It surfaced when the Sports and Culture Secretary tried to deliver a message of support from Gordon Brown.
But today, as the Prime Minister has asked me to convey, we can at least pledge that 96 fellow football supporters who died will never be forgotten. And he asked us to think at this time.
He was drowned out by the crowd chanting justice for the 96. A reminder that in the eyes of most Liverpudlians, the authorities who made the mistakes at Hillsborough never accepted responsibility. Trevor Hicks, who lost 2 teenage daughters in the disaster, said politicians should listen.
If ever the government, past or present, needed proof of the families feel they've had justice or not, just look around this stadium today.
The anger doesn't go away, but it subsided as current Liverpool legends Steve Gerrard and Jamie Carragher presented representatives of the Hillsborough families with the freedom of the city. 96 balloons were then released, and the fans returned to their traditional way of showing that those lost that day and their families will never be forgotten. Paul Davis, News at 10, Anfield.
Today, of course, was about remembering. Tomorrow, after the crowds and the cameras have gone from here, the campaign for justice will continue. In the 20 years since Hillsborough, no one has been held accountable for what happened. On tonight's evening news, the Culture Secretary, Andy Burnham, called for all the police documents to be released.
If there are any documents held by public bodies that have not yet been published, then they should be. There should now be full disclosure. Normally there is a rule, a 30-year rule, whereby documents are held, and I said that I felt it would be wrong to ask the families to wait a further decade to see all of that information. Now, I don't know if any documents exist, but if they do, they should now see the light of day.
Well, it wasn't just a day for mourning here at Anfield. The events of 20 years ago touched football fans from here to the farthest corners of the country. In Liverpool itself, people paused in silence to remember at 3:06. Shoppers gathered, the ferry across the Mersey stopped, the city came to an almost total standstill. At Hillsborough in Sheffield, where a memorial marks the tragedy, there was silence too, remembering a day that left a scar on that city and the world of football. And in Nottingham, the home of Liverpool's opponents, that Saturday afternoon, as supporters came together in quiet reflection, a church bell tolled 96 times. One of the anthems sung by Liverpool supporters on match days here recalls the Hillsborough disaster. Why so many taken on that day, it asks. Justice has never been done, but their memory will carry on. Emma Murphy has been hearing from 3 mothers. They told her stories of the sons and daughters who went to watch a football match and how they never came home.
I drove up to Sheffield that day. I was a mum and a wife. Now I'm neither.
James was an 18-year-old boy. Lovely, lovely personality and the most beautiful smile that you could wish to see.
Well, Nicholas loved football. We thought he might become a professional, but it wasn't to be.
They tell their stories in quiet voices with a composure that demands respect. 3 mothers whose memories of their lost children have not dimmed with the passing of time. Both Jenny Hicks's daughters, Sarah 19 and Vicky 15, were killed at Hillsborough. Under the strain of loss, her marriage broke down. Margaret Aspinall's 18-year-old eldest son James also died. So too Pat Joynes' youngest Nicholas, who was 27.
We drove up to Sheffield as a family, and all that goes with that, the laughing and the joking, we're going to win the match, planning for the future. That night when Trevor and I drove home, it was a very different car. The back of the car was empty, and I drove up to Sheffield that day. I was a mum and a wife. Now I'm neither.
Margaret, tell me about, for you, now 20 years on, what is it that is so difficult now?
What I find very hard to deal with is that James has gone longer than he lived. I find that very, very difficult. He was only 18 when he died. He's gone 20 years, that makes him 38, excuse me. I find that he was my eldest at the time, and I feel now he's my youngest. So to me that's difficult. But what would have been, and what could have been, and what should have been, I should have had from James as well.
These mothers have campaigned to have a full investigation into what went on at Hillsborough. 20 years on, they're still fighting.
If the police on that day had have stood up and said, we're really sorry, we've made terrible mistakes, we might have had some peace of mind. We need that. to be at peace before we die.
What's the hardest thing now for you?
The hardest thing? Well, I'm at the stage now where all my peers, their children are getting married and they're having grandchildren, and it's something that I'll never have. That day took away all of that for me.
At Anfield today, these mothers had the support of thousands. Tomorrow, they will return to their private, unrelenting grief. Emma Murphy, News at 10, Liverpool.
Well, among the thousands inside this stadium today, just as every year, was every player from the current Liverpool team. Here too, players who were on the pitch on that terrible day 20 years ago. They are the team who witnessed tragedy on the terraces.
The Liverpool keeper Bruce Grobbelaar was the player closest to the Leppings Lane end, and he saw a tragedy unfold behind his goal.
The ball had been over into that Lepping Lane end a couple of times. I've gone up and retrieved the ball, and you could see people being squashed against the fence. Some of them saying, "Bruce, trying to help us." So when I kicked the ball, I turned to the policewoman on the gate, and I said, "Can't you do anything? Can't you, let them, open the gate so they can ease out?" And there, in that time, they were screaming, and I saw things against the fence, people's faces that were already blue, and you want to go and make it aware to the referee, and that's when he turned and looked, and he blew the whistle for it to stop.
The players went off to await further news in their dressing room, and it wasn't good. Ray Houghton takes up the story.
It was only when some of the fans came in and said there's people dead out there, then I think that really hit everyone. And at that stage, I think it was then that Kenny and Brian Clough went out to make the announcement to just try and calm the situation down as best they could. You feel helpless. You don't know. We're not doctors. We don't know what to do. We haven't the medical prowess to go out there and do anything because we hadn't a clue what was going on.
Everybody else, apart from us, knew what was going on. So, every other fan in the ground could see what was going on. People in the stands could see what's going on in the Lepping Drone. And people on television, it's not until we really got upstairs and saw it on television that we knew what was going on. So as much as, we were there, in many respects, we didn't see a thing until after the event. And we didn't have a clue what was going on. Bruce, more than anyone would. But as far as I was concerned, it's not until I really got upstairs and saw it on television did I realise the magnitude of it.
Surely a game of that magnitude, a semi-final, potential for something to happen. And it did happen. Nobody's head is rolled. Nobody's been made accountable for it. And yet the 96 are still waiting for answers to be, to be heard.
The memories of the Liverpool players of 1989. Another who was at Hillsborough was striker John Aldridge, a boyhood fan of the club. He says he would have been on the terraces that day if he hadn't become a player. I spoke to him just a short time ago about that fateful day and when he first realised something was wrong.
Well, the players, we were in the dressing room when obviously there was people shouting in around us in the corridors. The door opened, Kenny went out. I heard this a man telling Kenny that people were dying outside and were obviously dying all around us. They were in corridors, in body bags as we were getting ready to hopefully go back on the pitch, which was the first signs that it was all going wrong.
And then over the next few days, you went to the hospitals to visit some of the victims, many of whom were in a coma.
That's right. On a Monday, we all went down as a squad of players, and fortunately, one man came through as Kenny Dalglish was speaking to him, but he was just one of very few. And later on, we went into another corridor where there was a young lad. He was in a coma, and we were asked to speak to him, which I did, and said all the right things to try and hopefully spark some life into the lad, and only to be told when I walked away by the doctor that they were cutting his life support machine off that afternoon, and he just wanted to speak to some of the players in his ear beforehand. So that was really, really tough for everyone. It was hard times. really hard times.
And just finally, what did today mean to the bereaved families, do you think, and what about their campaign for justice?
I think the families today was a massive, massive day. I think it was a huge statement from Liverpool football fans. Well, football fans all around the world as well. Evertonians joined in. You know, there was 30,000 plus, you know, in a massive statement that Hillsborough will not be forgotten till the answers which the people have sought for so long will hopefully one day come to the table, and you know, and then people can rest in peace.
John Aldridge talking to me a little earlier. And still to come tonight, Ronaldo's wonder goal, but was it enough to keep United in Europe?
Plus, going nowhere, the latest news on the cross-channel blockade and the unlikely singing sensation who's already taking the States by storm. A full review of the way police deal with events like the G20 protests has been ordered by the Metropolitan Police Commissioner, Sir Paul Stevenson. Videos have already come to light, apparently showing an officer hitting a young woman the day after a man died during the demonstrations. Tim Hewitt is at Scotland Yard tonight. Tim.
Yes, the Metropolitan Police rather have their backs against the wall at the moment. Sir Paul Stevenson has ordered officers here at Scotland Yard to mount a detailed review of literally hundreds of hours of video footage that was recorded by the police themselves during those G20 demonstrations to see if there's anything else, any other incidents that warrant investigation. The first piece of video, of course, was that of Ian Tomlinson, the man who subsequently died, being barged over by a police officer. And then there was this video, a woman who was apparently slapped in the face with the back of a hand by a sergeant from the tactical support group during the demonstration. She continued to remonstrate with him, and he then hit her over the legs, causing her to fall down, striking her with a baton. Now, that officer was not wearing any identification. Sir Paul has said he wants all police officers in demonstrations in future to be clearly identifiable.
Tim Hewitt, thank you. Hundreds of mourners have attended a memorial service for the 16 men who died when their helicopter crashed into the North Sea. Gordon Brown, Scotland's First Minister Alex Salmond and the Prince of Wales were at the service in Aberdeen. All 16 on board died when mechanical failure brought down the Super Puma as it returned from an oil rig a fortnight ago. Now, some of the travellers are finally beginning to make their way home tonight after being stranded by 2 days of blockades at French ports. Industrial action by fishermen has meant cross-channel services to Calais, Dunkirk and Boulogne have been paralysed. Some crossings only resumed late this evening. Well, Damon Green spent the day in Calais speaking to some of the people hit by the delays and disruption.
They sailed into Calais harbour as if in triumph. The handful of tiny French fishing boats that for 2 days now have brought cross-channel traffic at this very port to a standstill. Their protest over for the night, but in the morning they'll be back. From anywhere in Europe, this is the gateway to Britain, and all day it's been shut. Along the shoulder of the motorway, drivers queued for a place on the shuttle train under the channel, the only way out of Calais. 42 children on a coach homeward bound for South Wales didn't know where they'd be sleeping tonight. Their ferry cancelled, no room on the train.
To be turned away now and told to come back in 5 hours' time, and we don't even know what's going to be happening then, like, you know. Main thing is obviously get these children home.
From the air, the blockade at Boulogne hardly seems big enough to stop the cross-channel traffic. From the air, the damage to Britain is plain to see. Every hour that British freight spends waiting on a roadside in Kent is money out of British pockets. Already the damage to trade can be reckoned in millions, and it's an equation drivers stuck in France can work out for themselves.
I got to watch my hours for driving it. You got the immigrants running around your left, right and centre of a night time. You could end up with 3 or you could end up with 33, then you go to the customs and then they want to have a go at it down in the customs. It's just a vicious circle here for us.
The police won't intervene, they won't make the fishermen move on. It takes as long as it takes and that's it.
But for some British travellers, it's not been such a hardship. Some people, it seems, can even enjoy a holiday on Calais docks.
Plenty of food, plenty of booze, and as long as the sun's shining. The blockade lifted. The first ferry left Calais just after 9, 15 hours late. For some on board, many more long hours before they reach home.
Well, the weather conditions are really atrocious in Calais tonight, but Damon's still there. Damon, what should travellers do tomorrow?
Well, they should check the weather has changed for a start if they're coming to France, but no more mundane advice than that, really. You've got to plan ahead, ring your crossing company to see if the crossing is actually going to happen, because frankly, people here at Calais and in Dover have no idea what those fishermen, what those unions are planning to do tomorrow. One of them even asked me if I knew today. The point is, we understand that the blockade is due to come back in force about 6, 7 o'clock in the morning. There are ugly rumours they may even try to blockade the Eurotunnel. It could be that by dawn tomorrow we're right back to square one.
All right, Damon Green, thank you. A 48-year-old charity worker hoping to win the ITV show Britain's Got Talent has become a huge, if somewhat unlikely, internet sensation. Aspiring singer Susan Boyle is a hit on YouTube after appearing on the programme last weekend. From the United States, John Irvine reports on the woman who's also now become a massive star on American TV.
The star is born. Simon Cowell and the audience laughed when this unlikely woman took the stage on a popular British talent show. Now millions around the world want to hear her golden voice today, Wednesday, April 15th, 2009.
Making waves on this side of the Atlantic.
I've always wanted to perform in front of a large audience.
Well, thanks to television and the internet, that audience is growing by the second.
A video is circulating that a lot of people, especially during these times, are finding extraordinarily uplifting and emotional.
I dreamed a dream in time gone by.
Susan Boyle is now spellbinding America with her angelic voice and the "Don't Judge a Book by its cover" impact of her performance. Simon Cowell is famous over here, and the fact that even he was charmed makes this news.
It was an amazing and emotional story that put even hard-hearted Simon Cowell in his place.
YouTube has had around 7 million hits already. Back in Scotland, this normally shy lady has been revealing why she did it.
Basically, I wanted to fulfill a wish to my mother, that I wanted to do something with my life, and not only that, I felt I had a bit more to offer.
And here they want yet more. They're desperately seeking Susan.
It is one of the video moments of our time. Who wouldn't want to see her play for the Queen now?
We'll leave it there. John Irvine, News at 10, Washington.
Well, Liverpool's fiercest rivals, Manchester United, booked their place in the semi-finals of the Champions League tonight. They won at Porto thanks to their own Portuguese star, Cristiano Ronaldo. It means there'll now be an all-British semi-final after Arsenal eased past Villarreal. Richard Pallow watched tonight's action.
On a day when Liverpool dominated the headlines, trust their bitter rivals Manchester United to make a few too, becoming the first English team ever to win in Porto. Cristiano Ronaldo has been on the end of recent rare criticism from manager Sir Alex Ferguson. His response, emphatic, and a job very nicely done, boss. Nemanja Vidic then failed to do from 3 yards what Ronaldo had done from 40, and United began to wobble. Porto needed just a solitary successful strike to advance on away goals, and as time ticked on, they got closer and closer. But it's the holders that march on, still in pursuit of a remarkable 5 trophies. United will face Arsenal in an all-English semi-final, an Arsenal whose young guns are rapidly growing of age. No one more so than Theo Walcott, an Englishman already starring for his national side in Europe, now doing the same for his club. Arsenal haven't conceded a single goal at home in the Champions League this season, so if 3-1 on aggregate was probably enough, 4-1 most definitely was. No London club has ever won this competition, yet Arsenal and Chelsea are on course to meet in the final. Manchester United fans may beg to differ. Richard Pallow, News at 10.
Cricket, England have appointed former Zimbabwe captain Andy Flower as the coach to help them win back the Ashes this summer. The 40-year-old, who's been acting head coach since January, has been confirmed as team director. Flower was in charge during England's recent tour of the West Indies. And Jenson Button will not be stripped of his lead in the Formula One Championship. Motorsport's governing body has ruled that Button's car is legal, despite complaints from rival teams about the car's aerodynamic system. Our headline tonight is the 20th anniversary of the Hillsborough disaster. 25,000 fans stood in silence to remember the 96 fans crushed to death. Many repeated the call for justice on their behalf. And many of tomorrow's papers also focus on Hillsborough. The Liverpool Daily Post headline is "We Will Never Forget," with a photo of Stephen Gerrard and Jamie Carragher presenting the freedom of the city to the bereaved families. Meanwhile, the Daily Mail leads on the Britons stranded in France by the blockade of the major ferry ports. The greatest manager of this great football club, Bill Shankly, once said football is not a matter of life and death, it's more important than that. There were some here today who may perhaps think he was wrong. Good night from me and from Mary, and thank you for watching.
When you walk through a storm, hold your head up high and don't be afraid of the dark.
I drove up to Sheffield that day. I was a mum and a wife. Now I'm neither.
Of a storm, there's a golden sky.
It was horrible, you know. You failed to put into words how you felt. You know, this was a football match. People went to watch a football match.
If ever the government, past or present, needed proof of the families feel they've had justice or not, just look around this stadium today.
When you're surfing to compare, you'll find way more than just hot air. The weather you can never choose. But Sheila's Wheels is all good news.
Hello again, good evening. The thunderstorms that affected many west and southwestern parts through today are going to continue for the next 24 or so hours, particularly across the southern areas. A mild and breezy picture for most of us. And so tonight, in more detail, you can see there are the thunderstorms that have moved in across southern Ireland now. They've moved in from the southwestern parts of England, and here behind it we are going to be seeing some intermittent spells of rain, but for most of us a fairly mild and dry night, although still some sea fog there lurking towards the northeast. And that fog takes its time to clear away as we move towards lunchtime through tomorrow. The best of the conditions certainly Northern Ireland and Western Scotland, with more in the way of the thunderstorms arriving for the afternoon across eastern Wales and the West Midlands. Here some localised flooding is possible. Good night, see you tomorrow.
The weather you can never choose. Sheila's Wheels is all good news.
Good evening. It has been a day of delays and frayed tempers as strike action in France once again brought cross-channel traffic to a standstill. Tonight, the blockade by fishermen at Calais has been lifted, but holidaymakers and hauliers are being warned to expect more problems in Kent tomorrow. Our correspondent Derek Johnson reports.
A lorry driver tries to make the best of the situation with an impromptu sunbathing session on the M20. But in reality, there's been no upside for hauliers or motorists today. Operation Stack seeing many hundreds of lorries parked bumper to bumper between two junctions, unable to get onto ferries because there were no ferries running.
We're exploring other options for dealing with this problem. However, at the moment, Operation Stack is the contingency which we use when there's overcapacity at the port.
There are increased calls for Kent County Council to build a lorry park to stop the endless queues, but that too is controversial.
I don't see them ever building that off-road lorry park. I don't see them ever getting planning permission
for it.
And this is the cause of all those problems. French fishermen blocked the harbour at Calais. The same's happening in Boulogne and Dunkirk.
I can't remember Calais, Boulogne and Dunkirk all getting blocked at once this time, so it's very serious. We should be carrying thousands of trucks a day, thousands and thousands of passengers a day, and the impact on the business is horrendous. We're £1 million a day business down at Dover.
Ferry services here have been suspended today, leaving many in the lurch, including this party of students on a charity trip.
We thought it was open, so we went back to Dover and it's not, it's closed again.
We got down to Dover, actually, we did quite well, and then we just got here and there was just no ferries running, so we were like, oh no, what are we going to do? So we just had a little wander around Dover and it's actually quite nice.
This sort of industrial action is all too familiar, a way for French fishermen to air grievances on their side of the channel while causing massive disruption here.
Derek Johnson reporting there. In other news, police investigating an attack that left a man in hospital with life-threatening head injuries have charged a man. The victim, who's 41 years old, remains in a critical condition in hospital. He was found in 4th Avenue in Gillingham. James Alexander Brown has been remanded in custody. 3 men have been jailed for a total of 6 years for a burglary in Kent. Luke Anthony May, Ricky James Worsfold and Patrick Downey all live in the Medway area. They pleaded guilty after computer and photographic equipment worth over £1,000 was stolen from a house in Dowstway in Rochester in January. The government has released proposals for 11 new nuclear power stations, and one of them could be sited at Dungeness in Kent. Ministers say the plants would resolve a potential energy shortfall in the UK. A 1-month public consultation period is now underway, but as Sarah Saunders reports, the plans have been met with mixed reaction.
The nuclear power plant has dominated the skyline at Dungeness for almost half a century. And if today's proposals get the go-ahead, then a new reactor could be built here. If Dungeness is chosen as a preferred site for a new nuclear plant, then at least one 1,600 megawatt reactor could be built here, powering some 2.5 million homes. At the nearby village of Lydd, publican Tim Crompton says most of his customers would welcome the development.
I don't know that I've actually met anybody who comes into my pub who is actually against the idea of a new nuclear power station. They've lived with 2 power stations for 30, 40 years and they don't see any problem with them. The idea of having some more jobs locally is a wonderful thing.
The government says new locations for nuclear power plants must be considered because of what's known as the power gap. With many existing nuclear and coal-fired stations due to shut down and alternative power sources like the wind farm at Whitstable not yet producing enough energy, they say nuclear is the cleanest and quickest answer to a potential energy shortfall. Not so, according to Greenpeace.
The way forward for a low-carbon energy supply, which we so badly need, is not to go down the nuclear route, but to go down the route of renewables, energy efficiency and decentralised energy, which will deliver much more quickly and much more cheaply.
A month-long consultation process into the suitability of the 11 sites has now begun. Sarah Saunders in Dungeness for Meridian Tonight.
Campaigners are celebrating after common land in Sussex was saved from development. The plans to reclassify 4 acres of Crowborough Common so it could be built on were put forward by a golf club. Local objectors said it would ruin a natural beauty spot. A report by the council says the land the club was offering in return was not of equal value and they have rejected the plans. Now this is one inspirational pensioner. John Poulter is 81 years old and has been living at a care home since suffering a stroke, but he's just fulfilled a long-standing dream. Charlotte Wilkins has more.
It's been John Poulter's lifelong dream to ride with huskies, but when the 81-year-old suffered a stroke, he thought it would never happen. John lives in a care home and needs help to walk, but his illness hasn't stopped his zest for life. This amazing opportunity was organised by the team at Rothley Care Home in Petworth. They let their residents pick a wish and they do everything they can to fulfil it.
It's trying to make something come true for them, which is once in a lifetime thing. You know, just give them the feeling, the dignity, the individuality, that extra bit of care, which everyone deserves.
And it's not just John that's benefited from the day trip out. The other residents have come along for the ride and are loving every minute of it. But what has John made of it all?
Fantastic. It really was.
I mean, all my life I've loved dogs and never thought I'd finish up with a husky.
John is proof that no matter what age you are, you must never give up on your dreams.
Too right, and that is how the South East looks tonight. Remember, if you have a story you think we should know about, you can always send us an email. The address is meridiantonight@itv.com. Your weather is next. But from all of us here, thank you very much for watching. Have a great night. Bye-bye.
Change your outlook with your local airline. Flybe, sponsors of Meridian Weather.
Hello and a very good evening to you. Well, the ambers and golds of these tulips sent in by Lynn Bascom really do reflect the lovely warm temperatures that we saw today. There was plenty of lovely sunshine around. As we moved into tonight though, we've got plenty of cloud across our region, just 1 or 2 spits and spots of rain around, and temperatures nice and mild down to around 10 degrees. As we move into tomorrow though, we can expect to see some more organised rain making its way towards us. Some sunny breaks and temperatures for the afternoon feeling slightly cooler than they did today, up to around 15 degrees. As we look ahead then, and by Friday, we've got some more showers on the way, though there will be some breaks. Saturday, it does look set to be a rather wet day.
Flybe, sponsors of Meridian Weather.
Now on ITV1, conning their way across the Wild West, the stakes are high for Mel Gibson and Jodie Foster in Maverick.